From that conversion, it's typically going to be about a 3.5 hour process, but ultimately you're only with us for an hour, which is during the call. So on the day of your scheduled conversion, what's going to occur is before that call, that's when we actually move the information from your Kindful database into your Bloomerang CRM. At that point, we're going to take a look on our call at the information we did bring over and help you with some database cleanup options. And then after the call is when we finalize the conversion and bring over your campaign pages and your donation plugins into your Bloomerang CRM. So it's a pretty quick and easy process on our end. And then at that point, your Bloomerang CRM is live, and that's when we request that you add all new information into your CRM moving forward. Any questions kind of on that process so far, what to expect?
No.
Awesome. Now with the conversion, I do like to note that they are moving over your active information. So your disabled campaign pages, any archived contacts, those are not going to come over into your database. So if there is anything that's archived currently that you do want to have moved over between now and when the conversion date is, that's when we recommend you go through that process of reactivating those information. So taking a look here, with the shift into the Bloomerang CRM, there's going to be a few terminology changes, and we try to take caution and just show you a little bit of the database just so you know what to expect, kind of where to find, how to navigate the system. So that's what we're going to do in our call today. So when you first get logged in, when I send those credentials over this afternoon, you're going to get logged in, you're going to see your home page. At the very top, there's going to be a blue bar that says you're in conversion mode. Essentially, that it makes your system more like a sandbox environment or a test environment. So with that, you're going to be able to play around within your test environment. You can create a constituent for yourself, create some test letters, test communications, just to get familiar with the system, and we do highly encourage that. None of the information that you're adding into the system in terms of data is going to remain in your database. So on that conversion day, that's when we will clear it out to make way for the actual conversion of bringing in your existing data from Kindful. So don't enter anything that you need to have stick around, but definitely play around with it and get familiar with how it operates and works. One of the similarities you'll see is at the top, you have your constituent search with a few additional options that you can search by. You also have on the left side your menu items. So for today's purposes, we're going to start within our settings and our organization settings. Now the organization settings is one place where you can make updates to before your conversion day, and those changes are going to remain on the conversion day. They're not going to get cleared out. These organization settings essentially are your public-facing contact details. So they are going to be required to be entered. You typically will have the email of the first admin that was added to the system, email for the organization. If you're not the correct contact, you can update this. We often see it get updated to an info@email or overarching org email. And that's just because the public information you see here, the contact details you see here, are what appear on your receipts that are automatically sent. And they're also going to appear on any communication that's sent from Bloomerang and on any forms you may create within the system as well. One of the items I also like to point out is going to be your fiscal year start date, because that's going to default to January 1st. If you have a mid-year start date, you can click into this text box and go through the process of navigating by using the arrows to navigate to the day and month in which you want your fiscal year to be established. Any changes that you make in this page, you'll just want to select the Save option, which will highlight green once the required information has been filled in. Scrolling down a little bit further, we'll go into the giving statements a little bit more on the second call, which is our conversion call. But essentially, this is going to be the information that you can customize to appear on the giving statements that go out that are generated at the beginning of the year. Now, I know it's been a question with a few orgs recently, so I do like to give you a heads up. Even the transactions, because we're bringing them into your Bloomerang database, you will still be able to pull giving statements for past years within your Bloomerang CRM, once the data is converted over. The giving statements for 2025 will also generate within Bloomerang once we move your database over. That stuff will start to generate in January. Now the EIN, your organization logo, those are going to appear, if you add them, so they're optional, will appear at the top of your giving statement as a header. Any questions so far on the data that's being entered on the organization settings?
Nope. Nope.
Awesome. We'll go over these final two boxes a little bit more in detail on your conversion call. We have some more time, but essentially with the two-factor authentication, we just ask that you just don't turn this on quite yet, because we'll be getting in your database for that conversion process, and we don't want this to get reverted back. The next thing I want to take a look at is going to be your user settings. So I'll essentially I'll resend your credentials over this afternoon after our call. If you have any issues getting logged in, definitely let me know. I'm more than happy to assist.
Can we actually use it prior to the conversion date if we have access to log on to it?
Yeah, it's going to be in a test environment, so we don't recommend entering in active information that needs to be in your system. That's just because it is going to get wiped or cleared out on your conversion day.
Okay.
But you can get logged in and play with the system as if it was a test environment for yourself.
Okay.
Now there is going to be your user, but there's also going to be a .support user. This is .support users in everyone's database, and it's our Bloomerang support team. So we do ask that you leave their permissions as they are. Essentially, with this .support user, it's going to allow us to provide customized assistance anytime you reach out with questions. So there's always going to be this chat bubble in the bottom left corner of your screen that you can reach out to our live agent at any point. When you reach a live agent, they'll be able to access your system. If you're running into error messages, they can actively work through troubleshooting that with you. Or if you're reaching out for assistance within a report and the filtering, they'll be able to assist in that way because they can see your information. So we just like to give you a heads up so you're not taken aback if you see an additional support user. All that is it's the Bloomerang support team when we're working with you. When you're ready to add a new user, you'll just select the new option in the upper right corner. And then at that point, you just plug in the information where you see the green fields, because that's going to be your required data. With the username here, just keep in mind this cannot be an email address. We also generally recommend that's a version of first and last name to keep it easy to remember. And then the time zone's also required, and that comes into play for your scheduled reports and scheduled emails. Essentially, those scheduled emails and scheduled reports will always be sent based off of the user who established the original schedule. When you scroll down, that's where you'll see the actual permissions. From here, it is going to default to a standard user, and you can customize what they'll have access to within the system. If they have the green check mark or if the bubble is filled in, they will see that information in your database. With the standard users, they will never be able to access your settings within your menu. It will not appear in their system when they log in. They also will never have access to your Kindful fundraising tools. These two items for security purposes are only accessible for admins, so you'll just want to make sure you update them to an admin user if they will need access to these two items. You can update permissions at any time for your users, and you can have as many standard and admin users as needed. Any questions on that side so far?
Nope.
Perfect. The next thing we're going to take a look at is going to be in your payments section within your settings. Now your system in Kindful is already connected to Bloomerang Payments, so that's going to migrate and be automatically connected into your CRM on your conversion day. That's just going to allow us to go ahead and move your pages over after our call without any issues. So there'll be a very limited amount of gap data for you, hopefully. It's also going to allow us to help with moving those recurring donors over. And you'll be able to continue to process donations immediately from our call. The other nice thing is with Bloomerang Payments connected here, you have direct access to your Bloomerang payouts. The payouts will default to a daily setting where you'll get paid out on a daily basis. You'll also see the date of the payout, the batch total, and then the fees that are deducted. At that point, you'll also be able to view details. And when you view the details, it just shows a breakdown of all the transactions included in that batch. The transaction number will appear. You'll be able to click on that and it'll take you directly to the transaction where you can go through and see additional information as needed. And then back on the main payouts page, you also have an export payout details. This allows you to export a date range. So if you're ever going through an audit, or if you have a third-party accounting team helping with your book balancing or your accounting systems, you can export the information based off of this. It's going to download into a CSV file. It's going to include the summary information as well as the breakdown of the transactions. I didn't see when I was taking a look at your Kindful system that you had any third-party processors connected. So this is going to make things a lot easier during the conversion process because we're going to manage the whole process of getting it connected for you.
Great.
Any questions on the payment side so far?
We use QuickBooks. Would that be considered one of the integrations or?
Yeah, so QuickBooks is going to be an integration that you'll need to reestablish in Bloomerang CRM once we do the conversion. So for now, and up until your conversion day, we recommend you keep that connected so that you can continue to get the data into your system. Okay. To confirm, and I can show this on our call as well, kind of the process of going through connecting QuickBooks. But are you guys utilizing QuickBooks online?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then do you typically like to have it from QuickBooks to Bloomerang or Bloomerang data to QuickBooks?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. Do you have a recommendation or?
Well, it just depends on kind of how you like the data to flow. You do have the option to set up both of the integrations, but they are one-way syncs. So they would still operate as a one-way sync, but you can do it as a both. We can take a look a little bit more on the conversion day. And then at that point, we can go through the process of showing you how to get that connected within the Bloomerang CRM.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Is there any other questions on the payments or on the integration side?
I think the one problem we did have with QuickBooks and Kindful were double entries. Is that kink kind of worked out at this point, or are there still steps we need to take?
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on how you guys are entering in your data and where the main source or the source of truth is for the data entry. If you're manually making entries in both platforms and you have a two-way sync set up, there may be a possibility for a duplicate to appear somewhere. But that's where creating rules in your mapping settings will help with mitigating some of that for you.
Okay, great.
All right. Any other questions we can answer for you today?
Nope.
Awesome. All right. So the next step we're going to take a look at is going to be one of the first terminology changes we encounter, and that's going to be within your constituents. Your constituents are your contacts, and your contacts are going to come over one for one. When you go to the constituents page, you're going to see a few analytics at the top, but then you're also going to see just a list of your constituents, some contact details, and some information about latest transactions. Very basic in terms of the data that's being included here. You'll also notice that one of the differences, you don't see any type of reporting from this page, and that's because all reporting will be done within the report menu, and we'll take a look at reports on our second call with the conversion. A couple of things that I do like to point out from this page is you have this blue box and then you have a green box. Your blue box is going to be your individual accounts for each constituent or for each contact. Your green box is going to be your household accounts, and households is a new tool that you have in CRM that's not available in Kindful. How households operate is they're essentially a third account that you create where you can bring in members of a household. So you can not only report on the individual's giving and their own records, but you have the third household account, which lumps all of their information together that you can report and communicate for. Bloomerang actually also bills based off of households. So essentially, if 2 members are in a household together, those will only count one time towards your constituent license. Whereas if they are not part of a household, they'd each count. If you had 2 members, they would be 2 counts towards your constituent license. We will try to help with the creation of some of these households with the conversion if you have spouses and related contacts associated with your contacts, and we will try to group them into households for you to kind of help with that creation. Any questions on the household side or how that is billed for your constituent license?
Is that is it available and then over so many you start getting charged, or is it from the get-go you get charged per?
Yeah, so your current license, let me pull it up here. It's going to allow for up to, it's loading here, up to 5,000 constituents in your database.
Okay.
So if you had 5,500 constituents in your database, but 500 of those individuals are part of a household, then you would not get any overage fees because they're looped into a household, which is how we would bill. So it'd be your number of households plus the number of individuals not in a household, determine what that constituent license is and if there would be any overage fees.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you ever have to manually create a contact, this is also the page in which you would do that by selecting the Add Constituent option. From here, you have 2 types of constituents. You have individuals and organizations. Once you've selected the option, you're going to fill in with Bloomerang, green means go. So you're just going to fill in the required data. And you'll notice, I'm going to zoom in here a little, when I type in on the left side, the right side of the right column will pre-fill. This right column for informal, formal, envelope, and recognition names are for merge fields that can be used in mass communication to help personalize and customize those letters and those emails when they get sent out in mass. You do have the option to go through and make adjustments, so if they have particular ways in which they would like to be addressed, or if at any time they reach out and want to make adjustments, you can do this from their profile as well. Outside of that, if it's important, we recommend tracking that information and entering that here if you know it, especially when it comes to contact details so that you're ready to reach out when needed. And because we mentioned it just a moment ago with households, you also have the option to create a new household or add a new contact to an existing household from there when you create them. When you select Add to Household, if my husband's making our monthly donation this year, you could add him to our existing household if it's already there, if I'm in the system already. Or if we don't have a household yet, you can go through the process of creating one. And then go through and update how you would like to enter in this information. So if we would like to be addressed by David, you could go through the process and customize it that way. Now, by default, if you're creating a household from a constituent record, or when you're manually entering, they'll by default become the head of household, which you can always adjust later when more members are added. But for the default purposes, if David's being added to a new household, David would be the head of household at that point. Any questions on creating a new constituent so far?
Nope.
Perfect. We'll just keep rolling right along here. We're going to go to a constituent profile.